actually considering filing Mueller. I talked to him, so that's not even something he's considering.
House Freedom Caucus Chairman there, North Carolina Congressman Mark Meadows, saying Special Counsel Robert Mueller will not be fired by the president. And this comes as President Trump beefs up his legal team and ahead of a possible meeting between President Trump and Robert Mueller. Joining me now is Harvard Law Professor Emeritus Alan Dershowitz. Alan, thank you for joining us this morning. So first off, there you have another example, Mark Meadows, someone who says he spoke with the president, and the president says he has no intention of firing Robert Mueller, but still speculation is running wild.
Well, it's the Democrats and the people on the other side who are fueling this speculation. I can't see any conceivable reason why the president would even consider firing Mueller. That would create a real problem on the Republican side of the aisle, as well as obviously on the Democratic side of the aisle. I don't think he's going to fire him. I don't think he should fire him.
Well, the president, with his tweets over the weekend and Monday morning saying this is the ultimate witch hunt, it certainly adds fuel to the fire, saying this investigation never should have began in the first place. So what is the strategy there? Why put those things out there?
Well, first of all, the president's 100% right. There never should have been the appointment of a special counsel here. There was no probable cause at that point to believe that crimes had been committed. I've seen no evidence to suggest that crimes have been committed by the president. As I said from day one, there should have been a special investigative commission, nonpartisan, appointed by Congress with subpoena power to look into the role of Russia in trying to influence American elections and to try to do something about preventing it in the future. Instead of starting out with finger pointing and trying to criminalize political differences behind the closed doors of a grand jury, that's gotten us nowhere. The president's absolutely right. This investigation never should have begun. And the question is now, how does he deal with it? And I think what he's doing is he's playing good cop, bad cop. He has some of his lawyers cooperating with Mueller and some of his lawyers attacking Mueller because he wants to be ready to attack in the event there are any recommendations that are negative to the president.
And of course, Ty Cobb, the White House lawyer, is one of those who is speaking up, saying that the president has no intention of firing Robert Mueller. Meanwhile, as we learn that the president is adding new lawyers to his legal team, and then there's further reports and speculation that there's going to be more of a shakeup for the president's legal team. Why do this now?
You know, you never know what's going on inside of a legal team. I remember in the O.J. Simpson case, people talked about it as the dream team. It turned out it was really a nightmare team. Nobody got along with each other. Everybody was fighting with each other, but everybody kept it confidential and private. So nobody knows what really is going on, whether there are real arguments within the defense team about whether to go public, whether to try to play good cop. These are issues that are impossible for outsiders to know because conversations between lawyers and clients and among lawyers are privileged, and we don't have the right to know what they say to each other.
How would you describe, Alan, the current position that this president is in amid this investigation?
Well, as far as we know, he's not vulnerable to being prosecuted for obstruction of justice on constitutional grounds, and I think that seems fairly clear. There doesn't seem to be any evidence of any illegal collaboration between Russia and the Trump campaign. But what we don't know is whether there's an investigation dealing with the business affairs prior to becoming a candidate, prior to becoming president. Nobody knows. And he is being subjected to what I call a legal colonoscopy. They are looking at every conceivable aspect of his business life. And who knows how many people could survive that kind of an inquiry. So I think on the public things, the Russia thing and the obstruction of justice, he's on pretty safe ground. On the material regarding his own business dealings, it's impossible to know.
Should the president agree to some sort of sit-down or direct questioning from the special counsel?
Depends on what the alternatives are. If the alternative is to be summoned in front of a grand jury without his lawyer present to answer questions on every subject, that's obviously the worst possible approach. If he can compromise by having several hours with restricted questions on restricted subjects with his lawyer present, with an opportunity to confer with his lawyer, that might be the least worst solution. Obviously, he'd prefer not to speak at all, but that may not be an alternative that's available to him.
Lastly, I want to ask you about these Andrew McCabe memos following his firing. Robert Mueller now has possession of those memos. What do you expect to come from those?
Well, I think they'll basically confirm what he's already said. These are self-serving memos, obviously written by him to memorialize what he remembers. It'll be subject to cross-examination, but I don't expect any smoking guns to come out of these memos.
Alan Dershowitz, great to get your perspective and thoughts this morning. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And we are going to have a lot more on all of this in the next hour. The White House Principal Deputy Press Secretary, Raj Shah, who'll be with us here to discuss all of this in the next hour of America's Newsroom.
Plus, a federal investigation now underway after a self-driving Uber car kills a woman crossing a street.
Nobody wants to go through this. We in our department are investigators, and I'm sure the family also. None of us want to go through this ever again. So